Hello, I'm Lara Kulcharsan and this is Newsfeed, your dose of what people are talking about online. With the race to the White House going down the wire, U.S. presidential candidates Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are doing all they can to win over voters in the final stretch. More than 40 million Gen Z voters will be participating, with 8 million casting their ballots for the first time. And where are they most likely to be reached? You guessed it, social media. Both Democrats and Republicans have ramped up their efforts on platforms like Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok, hoping to sway voters. They've also brought in influencers and celebrities, amplifying their campaigns with what's being called the Taylor Swift effect.
Young voters already feel disenfranchised because we do a horrible job of reaching out to young voters, connecting with them, engaging them, and listening to them. TikTok is actually a platform where young voters have found community with each other, and they're learning a lot more about politics. They're learning more about their elected officials, votes their elected officials have taken, what we all stand for, and they're sharing information.
This election has seen the highest levels of political violence since the 1970s. Experts are warning that the charged atmosphere is creating a volatile situation. This year, there have been 51 incidents. That's at least 240 more since 2021. It began when Trump's supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol to overturn the 2022 election results. The pace of political violence has remained consistent, with 93 cases in 2021, 79 in 2022, and 76 last year. Some incidents have drawn significant attention, including 2 assassination attempts on Republican candidate Donald Trump. Other high-profile cases include 3 shootings in recent weeks at a Kamala Harris campaign office in Arizona. There have also been small fights over political signs, property destruction at rallies, and threats against election workers.
In looking at political violence in the United States and examining the record number of threats against different types of public officials, and also the steady use of violent language by some public figures, is that political violence or the use of violence and language around politics has become normalized. All of this has made experts concerned that in the aftermath of an election, particularly if it's not clear who won, that this could lead to partisans of a particular political side using violence.
As the U.S.'s top diplomat Antony Blinken met with Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu to revive truce talks, Israel continued its bombardments in Gaza and Lebanon. While they talked about peace and the future of a post-war Gaza, Israel struck a school-turned-shelter in Beit Lahia in northern Gaza, killing 7 displaced Palestinians. Israel says it's not willing to end its assault. The sustained attack on northern Gaza has all but decimated infrastructure, and aid agencies say the area is not habitable. Yet, trapped Gazans have continued to seek shelter from the constant attacks. Those attempting to flee have to gamble with death. Nowhere in Gaza is safe. This video of a young girl carrying her injured sister in central Gaza is creating a stir on the internet.
وين رايحة أنت هالقيت؟
أنا رايحة
في المنتزه البريج؟
طب
تعال أخذك معايا.
Blinken also pressed on Israel to increase aid supplies to Gaza. Despite the risk of losing its military aid from Washington, Tel Aviv has continued to restrict critically needed supplies. Arshaf is in Gaza, where food is scarce and the prices of whatever little is available is almost unaffordable.
Prices have skyrocketed throughout the Gaza Strip. Everywhere you go, every city, every town, every village, the prices are very steep and people can't afford to buy fruits or vegetables or any food items to feed their families. For the second year in a row, people are struggling because of the ongoing Israeli war. But the situation is much worse in northern Gaza, where they have been under constant Israeli attacks as well as blockade for the 3rd week in a row. For example, a kilogram of tomatoes in northern Gaza can cost more than $100. a kilogram of sugar can cost somewhere around $70. And almost everywhere you go in the Gaza Strip, prices are very high, and people are hungry, people are thirsty, and families can't afford a decent meal. Maybe once every 2 or 3 days they can afford to get a meal.
الحياة عندنا صعبة كتير.
Life here has become very difficult as prices are getting higher and higher. In the past, we used to receive some aid, but for more than 2 months, we haven't received any.
In northern Gaza, we are unable to provide our daily food because we do not receive any aid. A kilo of sugar costs around $50 and no one can afford to buy it. Almost all of the basic needs from food and medicines are missing in Gaza.
The battle for India's satellite internet is heating up, with two of the world's richest men, Elon Musk and Mukesh Ambani, locked in a high-stakes race. The competition has intensified after India announced it would allocate satellite spectrum for broadband without an auction.
Elon Musk wants to bring his Starlink satellite internet to India, and he also spoke to PM Modi regarding this, saying that it can be incredibly helpful in remote villages in India. But Mukesh Ambani is also trying to do that with Jio, and he doesn't want an international competitor to come to India and take his market share. So let's understand what's really happening. See, the internet through satellite is provided by something called satellite broadband spectrum, similar to 2G and 3G telecom spectrum given to companies. And what Mukesh Ambani wants for the government is to auction these spectrum, but Elon Musk wants the Indian government to license them. See, what auctioning does is it gives exclusive rights of the spectrum to a company, and according to experts, this will be beneficial for an Indian firm like Reliance. Whereas giving licenses will make a level playing field for other companies and create a competitive landscape.
Musk's Starlink and Ambani's Reliance Jio are both aiming to capture the growing market, especially in rural areas where internet access is limited. While Starlink operates low Earth orbit satellites for faster service, Jio uses medium Earth orbit satellites to offer a more cost-effective option. The stakes are high, with India expected to have 2 million satellite internet subscribers by 2025. Nearly 40% of India's population still lacks internet access. The tragic death of former One Direction star Liam Payne has reignited concerns over the music industry's responsibility to protect young talent. Payne passed away at 31 after falling from a hotel in Argentina last week. Initial toxicology reports revealed multiple drugs in his system. Witnesses say he was acting erratically in the lobby before being escorted to his room for aggressive behavior. Tributes from around the world continue to pour in as fans mourn the loss of a figure who shaped their teenage years, while peers in the industry honor the singer's legacy.
Former X Factor judge Sharon Osbourne was among those who shared a heartfelt tribute on social media, saying, "We all let you down." She reflected on how Payne was just a kid when he stepped into one of the toughest industries in the world, and questioned, who was in your corner? Where was this industry when you needed them?
Payne's career began at 14 when he first auditioned for the X Factor. 2 years later, he returned and joined One Direction, launching to global fame. But success came at a price. Payne admitted that he turned to alcohol to cope with the pressure, saying there was no other way to get your head around what was going on. Sadly, his story isn't unique. Many young stars face years of exploitation and its devastating effects. In the wake of his death, over 25,000 people have signed a petition demanding that the entertainment industry be held accountable for the welfare of its stars.
Drug addiction, psychiatric hospitalizations, decimated fortunes, incarceration, suicide. Name something comparable to the pop culture phenomenon of child stardom.
Everyone wanted to make it in the industry at a young age. I was 7 or 8 years old.
First time I was in front of a professional camera, I was 16 months old.
I started performing at 3 years old.
I was struggling. My first account ran away with my biggest earnings up to that point.
There's nothing left for me at the end of the day.
How old were you when you were first given substances? 10?
I immediately went right to drugs and alcohol.
I would be in fittings, and
and they would be like tightening things and taking things in and saying that I needed to like show my body more.
At 16 years old.
Yeah.
Miley, Demi, Selena, Christy, Raven, Jeanette, Cole, so many from my generation are coming forward, and with all our stories, I find myself wondering why you continue marveling at talented tykes as they flash across social media, saying things like, "Get them an agent, they're destined to be a star," but then turn away in disdain when they falter. And how are we all participating in keeping the toddler to train wreck pipeline masterfully intact?
A lot of modern technology is designed to improve our lives, whether we are awake or asleep. We've all heard about insomnia, but what about orthosomnia? Health freaks have unlocked a new source of anxiety, perfect sleep, which sadly doesn't really exist.
Orthosomnia is a medical term for being obsessed with perfect sleep. It often requires wearable devices like smartwatches or rings. The term was coined in 2017 after scientists discovered that some people were spending too much time in bed to achieve a perfect sleep score. However, experts warn the results are not always accurate.
While sleep trackers can collect a lot of information about your slumber habits, they don't measure sleep directly. Instead, they often measure inactivity as a surrogate for estimating sleep. Most sleep tracking devices make some guesstimate as to how much you're actually sleeping.
Sleep tracking gives researchers access to millions of hours of sleep data, which they use to understand how to improve the quality of our sleep. But the consumer tech market turns it into profit. According to Grand View Research, the global market of wearable trackers was around $13.4 billion in 2023. The thing is, stress disrupts sleep. And if you get stressed because you're wondering how well you're going to sleep, then, surprise, surprise, you're going to end up with less sleep. Scientists say chasing the perfect sleep often makes sleeping even harder. Instead, they suggest that not worrying about it and going to bed naturally would achieve a much better night's sleep.
I mean, I've never heard of this, but I used to struggle with something called orthosomnia, which is basically the obsessive pursuit of optimal sleep that's usually driven by tracker data. I would literally wake up every single morning, and the first thing that I would do is check my Whoop, see how much sleep I got and what my sleep score was, and I swear it fed into how my day went. So it turns out that orthosomnia will actually make your sleep worse by you having anxiety about making sure your sleep is good enough.
Who would have thought that the UK Home Office has a sense of humor? Yes, I meant the ministry responsible for immigration, security, law, and order. It has granted a passport to the fictional character Paddington Bear. The Peruvian-born Teddy, who is probably the most beloved refugee in the UK, has been given a specimen document by the government. The papers list him as Bear under its observations. It all happened because producers for the latest Paddington movie asked for a replica passport. But the Home Office added a fun twist to the story by issuing a real one.
Welcome to Peru. Thank you for using PhotoMe.
Thank you for having me.
Please note that headwear is not permitted. Make sure your face is within the red circle.
Red circle. Right.
Commencing photos in 3, 2, 1.
No, wait.
Funny stuff. And that's our show. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.